Why don't we start from the beginning? I heard from our mutual friend that you were in trouble. Your wife called me up and said, likely Brian's going to be in a wheelchair soon. And I said, what? So describe where you were at that stage. What was going on with you? What was your body like? What was your back like? What was happening?
You know my background, and I've been suffering dearly since my 20s with complications related to spinal cord injuries and back issues. And that led into having reconstruction surgery on my stomach, and I've been about through 9 of them. And I ran out of options. I ran out of all the traditional options, and my thoracic spine surgeon told me they can't do anything for me there on a surgical aspect. The neurologist, his recommendation was for me to go back on these heavy narcotics and drug medications to regulate and suppress my central nervous system, which doesn't make sense because it's my brain and my spinal cord. And if you shut that down, then I shut down. So 95% of my life was compromised, and just mobility, getting up, moving, and functioning. The simple things in life were difficult for me. And where they were really difficult was mentally, because I had to learn how to judge and juggle all this stuff on a daily basis. At the end of the day, not being able to get out of a chair. One of the biggest reasons why I stopped sitting is because once my body gets in that position, my legs aren't very kind in getting me back up. The longer I was in that position, the worse it got for me, but the increase in the pain. I get these incredible amounts of electricity shoot through my legs and overall extremities that literally makes me come off the chair or off the bed at least 4 to 6 inches. They're just massive. Boom!
Like, is there spasms of pain or spasms of electrical shock or both or what?
I think it might be painful, but it's so fast and so violent, it's just my body responds to it. Before I can even recognize what it is, my body just reacts. Boom! Also, the pain is I can't sneeze, I can't cough, I can't laugh unless I position myself because I can't support those contractions. So it's difficult. Again, it's always mental gymnastics. I can't put my socks on.
Okay, and that's because your body can't get into the position, or because of the pain, or both?
I can't get in the position first, but if I push it, then it's painful. So I get the best of both worlds there.
Okay, so basically you lost your flexibility.
I lost my flexibility, my range of motion, but also in losing that, it increases the pain when I go beyond. And you remember, these aren't I clipped my toenail wrong type of pain. These are shooting, difficult, hardcore pains.
Wow. See, all these years I've known you, I didn't know that you were going through this.
Because I don't complain. Because I'm too grateful for what I have. But I was losing the little that I did have, and I'm refusing to do that.
How did you come to the conclusion that you were going to end up in a wheelchair relatively soon? Who told you that, or did you just come to that on your own?
I came to that on my own. It was just confirmed by my neurosurgeon and by my thoracic spine specialist that's performed all of my surgeries, over 9 of them now.
So they told you you were heading towards a wheelchair.
That's it. I was supposed to be in a wheelchair 20 years after my first surgery. That was 30 something years ago. But what's interesting now is this. I'm dealing with the effects of aging. And that's when I knew the tipping point really happened. So I had to come to a solution quick because now I had another thing that I had to add on to the list of these complications.
Okay, then the story goes to your wife telling me that you're going to be in a wheelchair. And I call you up. And that's where we go to the next part of the story.
So I have this experience with you that's dramatically had incredible measurable results, honestly, almost instantaneously. And I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all of this. So I had the ozone injections, and I had the cleaning of the blood, and then I had the 8 injections around my spine. My body went like this. It kind of was sad and happy and alert and everything at one time. That ride home was interesting. I could feel things changing. I didn't know what they were yet, but I could feel things start to change. Every single night for 5, maybe 6 straight nights, I felt every cell in my body. And then I realized what was happening. Homeostasis was changed. My body was healing from the inside out. I could feel it. It's really interesting. I had nightmares almost every single night for as long as I can remember. I don't have nightmares anymore. In fact, guess what's starting to happen now? I just get up like a normal person. I don't have to do this self-evaluation. Where's my pain? Where am I heavy? What's not working? Where's the cramp? I haven't done that in 3 days. That's intense.
Well, let me try to explain a little bit of this.
Okay.
There's no question that your body has been in a state of massive inflammation for decades now. All the surgeries, all the drugs. No question that your body has managed to do its best to compensate for all that, from the rods and the metal and the screws and whatever else they put in your back, to the abdominal surgeries, and all the compensatory mechanisms that your body engaged in order to keep you upright so that you could function in life. You paid a price for that. So I think you described at one point that you were like a board, that your back was so stiff you couldn't move one way or the other. You couldn't simply go like this, standing, because you were so rigid. And then you started putting on weight, not fat, but weight from inflammation. Inflammation causes a lot of fluids to gather. And if the fluids are not circulating properly, the lymph isn't circulating properly, and your muscles are inflamed. All that inflammation causes basically something called induration, where the tissues become so filled with inflammatory fluids that they become rigid and stiff and hard. And we've seen you in our clinic years back, and even back then you were about as hard as a brick, not the normal soft, pliable tissue that should accompany or should be the constituency of your body. All that inflammation, year after year, decade after decade, was you were paying an increasing price for that, including mental. So when you have that much inflammation, and of course, Alice, Dr. Pien, my wife, talked about the fact that all that inflammation causes your body to release massive amounts of stress hormones. And the cascade just feeds on itself, becomes worse and worse and worse until you were heading for a wheelchair. And that's not just the physicality of your body, but it also means the effects on your brain, your mentality, your feeling of well-being, your mental vitality, etc., not just your physical vitality. So all we did was ozone, various types of ozone on you, and putting them in different places, and then of course the apheresis, the blood filtration. So let me try to give an explanation for that. So of all the things that ozone does, and there's a lot of them, okay, the most important, in my opinion, is its effect on mitochondria. So let's back off here a minute. Every cell in your body, and you have 100 trillion of them, has a nucleus, right? Within the nucleus, of course, there are this DNA material, and that DNA material is the software which runs every single biochemical reaction in that cell. And the cells are very, very active. They're constantly making proteins, they're making this, they're making that, they're repairing themselves, they're making things for other cells, like some cells make insulin or other hormones, etc. They're very busy. They are biochemical factories. Now, how many reactions, biochemical reactions, does an average cell in your body actually make? Well, the number is miraculous. About 20,000 biochemical reactions per second. Every single one of those biochemical reactions is in perfect harmony and perfect synchrony and in perfect sequencing with all the other chemical reactions that are happening at the same time in that cell. And you have 100 trillion cells doing 20,000 biochemical reactions per second. You can't possibly look at that and think it's random. You can't possibly look at that and try to wrap your head around that, your mind around that, and say, oh, this is an accident of evolution. There is something else going on here that gives us, that holds our particles together and allows us to exist. And that is divine. So Those 20,000 reactions, biochemical reactions that happen every second, require an immense amount of energy. Biochemistry doesn't happen, you know, you just can't place things in a petri dish together and expect them to start reacting. It requires energy to make those things happen. The energy of the cell is called ATP. Adenosine triphosphate is the fuel, the molecular compound, which is the fuel for every single one of those biochemical reactions. And if you're doing 20,000 of them per second, you need a lot of that ATP. Well, who makes the ATP? Where does that come from? It comes from the mitochondria in our cells. So if you have a lot of mitochondria and those mitochondria are fully functioning, you have tons of ATP in your cells, and your cells are happy and they can get on with repairing themselves and making sure that they're healthy, and they can carry out the functions they need to carry out for the rest of the body. When we are kids, our cells are filled with mitochondria. I mean, they are packed. I mean, you know, it's like every spare little, you know, space in the cell is packed with mitochondria. And that's why kids have indefatigable energy. You know, they just run around like crazy, you know, and when they get sick, they pop back real quick. They really do get sick, but when they do, they come back real quick. When they get injured, they come back real quick. Why? Because they have all that life energy. They have all that mitochondria working, and all those, you know, many mitochondria working at full capacity, creating huge amounts of ATP, so your cells are healthy. Now, within an organ, if all those cells are healthy, the organ is healthy and doing what it needs to do. The systems, the organ systems are doing what they need to do, okay? And that's why there's so much vitality in youth. Now, as we age, two things happen. We lose mitochondria. By the time you're 40 years old, you have about half the mitochondria you had when you were 10 years old or 5 years old. And by the time you're 60, you lose another half. So you're down to about 10% of the mitochondria you started out with life, during life. And not only that, but the mitochondria themselves are not functioning so well. So they're not able to, as efficiently, pluck those electrons off of oxygen and create ATP. So what does this have to do with your condition? Inflammation advances all of that. Inflammation accelerates the aging. Inflammation depresses your mitochondria's ability to work and to function. And so whatever mitochondria you should have had at the age of 56, I'm telling you, you had a lot less, and they weren't functioning well. And there are ways of measuring this, by the way. So what does that have to do with ozone? Put ozone into the body. The ozone, through different chemical reactions that it does within the blood and other tissues, penetrates into those mitochondria and instantly fires them up. You start making massive amounts of ATP. Not only that, with enough ozone and repeated treatments with ozone, your cells start making new mitochondria. The biogenesis of mitochondria increases. So not only do the mitochondria function better, but now your cells are making more mitochondria so that you have more of these manufacturing plants making the fuel for life. And that's exactly what's going on with your body. First and foremost, your body needed to deal, okay, with the inflammation that you've been experiencing, but it couldn't deal with it. It didn't have the energy to do it. It didn't have the mitochondria, and the mitochondria weren't functioning. So when you right that ship, the body can start healing itself. It is that simple. It's that simple. And that's one of the reasons we use ozone so frequently in so many patients. It's so easy to use, it's so simple to use, it's so safe to use, there's no downside to using ozone, and the body wakes up, and the body can reestablish balance. The body can start functioning again. The different organ systems can start functioning again. And you felt it. The body was healing itself from the inside out. And what did we do? Nothing. We gave you ozone so your body could do all the work. Now, ozone, of course, can be introduced to the body in different ways. Okay, in your case, we put it directly into your blood, not gas into your blood, but we have systems where the blood can be drawn out and ozonated that pump back into you, so it's perfectly safe. And of course, Dr. PN did the very delicate ozone injections around your spine in the places where your spine was really, like you said, it's been traumatized for decades now. And then we did something called apheresis. There are two systems in your body whose job it is to filter and clean your blood. There is the liver and the kidney. And they do this, again, biochemically. they are engineered to filter out chemical toxins out of your blood, and get rid of them. But what they are not designed to do is filter out debris out of your blood. So when I say debris, the best image I can give you is the way a coffee filter works to filter out the grinds and leave you with the coffee you want to drink. So there's nothing in your body that filters out debris. And when you're inflamed for long periods of time, which can occur because of autoimmune diseases, it can occur because of bacterial infections or fungal infections or viral infections, and these chronic inflammatory conditions and infections cause debris to build up because of your own tissue damage. The tissues of your body are damaged, and cells in your body are breaking apart and degrading and degenerating, and you end up with cellular debris floating around in your body. So what does your body do? It takes that stuff out of the blood and stores them in your tissues. It stores them in the ECM, which is the extracellular matrix of your tissues. It just gets them out of there, it just stores them in there. It's just like heavy metals and other things. It just gets them out of the way and sequesters them, stores them in your tissues. But they cause inflammation. So the apheresis device will take the blood out of one IV through a filter, clean it, and put it in the other arm and the other IV. And you did that. And we cleaned out a lot of toxins out of your body. So not only did we give you the necessary energy through ozone for your body to resurrect itself from the cells out, okay, from each mitochondria out, from all the different organ systems, but you also cleared toxins out of your body with the apheresis, with the blood cleansing filtration, so that now your body doesn't have to deal with the toxins that were suppressing it and causing additional inflammation. Now, I got to say that your results are amazing. Now, I want to be sure you understand one treatment is not a silver bullet. You need more.
Well, I will come back for more, and I plan on getting on a protocol that's for me, and you will help me determine that, and I don't plan on stopping. Because I was done. I had maybe 2 more physical years on my feet. The pain and the suffering and the mental gymnastics I had to go through every single day was devastating because I'm only 56 years old. That's no longer there.
So anyhow, you're on track, and the other regenerative modalities that we use here are ready, to take their place in this drama of your healing.
Right.
The stem cell therapies that we do and other things. Let's continue this odyssey of getting you back to full vital engagement in your life.